So welcome everybody and anybody who is watching us on the live streams. Welcome to our MDS webinar, where today we'll be talking about apprenticeships and how they can be particularly utilised within the food and fresh produce supply chain. Today, I'm going to be joined by Sapphira Waterson, our CEO of MDS, Tilly Allen, who is joining us from the Apprenticeship College, and Jake McMahon, who is currently one of our MDS trainees. I am Kirsty Barden, and I'm the Business Development Manager at MDS. So as well as knowing the programme very well, I'm also one of the ex-MDS alumni, so I can attest to its the delights of the programme from both points of view. Safi will be discussing the history of MDS, our graduate scheme up until now, and she'll be making an exciting announcement about the future of the programme. Jake will be giving us some further information around his experiences as an apprentice and what that means to be working and doing an apprentice qualification at the same time, and hopefully telling us it's not as daunting as it may seem. Tilly will be discussing how apprenticeships can be utilised within your businesses and how apprenticeships are changing from the traditional structure that people may be considered, particularly around how they are previously being considered purely as a route for school leavers, and now it's a very different type of situation. So Safi, I'd like to pass over to you now, so you can tell us all about MDS and what the future holds for us.
Okay, thank you, Kirsty. Well, let me just give you a little bit about the history of MDS to start off with. So MDS has now been running for 36 years. It started as there was three very forward-thinking farmers who recognised that the industry really lacked people coming into the businesses with experience. So they were getting lots of people with lots of theoretical knowledge, but what they weren't getting was with people with experience. So they decided quite uniquely that they would work in collaboration with each other. And when you think about that they were actually competitors in a commercial sense, this was quite a unique concept. And so what they decided was that they would organise a programme where they would recruit people coming out of university who needed experience and put them through a programme of employment where they could gain lots of very sort of industry experience. So they developed this membership of companies, which is how MDS has grown, and then they recruited graduates, employed them in the business that we now know as MDS, and MDS placed all of these trainees into 4 different secondments over a 2-year period. So this enabled them to get the work experience they needed. It enabled them to work in lots of different companies, find out where they fit, which sector within the industry that they wanted to work in and potentially make their career, and at the same time find out all about the industry, the whole supply chain, because quite often people come into a business and they don't really know what they want to do for a permanent career. So MDS enabled them to really get that work experience, find out where they fit, do lots of different jobs, and then at the end of the programme they would get permanent employment. So alongside the sort of practical experience they were gaining, they also did off-the-job training, and then they were enabled to apply this training in practice. This clearly was a very sort of fast-track route into the business, and the outcome has been that we've had 100% of trainees being offered permanent employment at the end of the programme. 85% of those trainees went into permanent employment within the membership. So there was clearly a great benefit to being a member of MDS. And, you know, forward thinking, you would think, actually, if you're a competitor in a commercial sense, it's quite likely that you would all work together at some point. So if you had a commercial manager in Audi who had also done a production role in another business, the likelihood is that they would be working together at some level. And the training that was available was obviously going to benefit the whole industry and not just the business. So we've currently got 500 alumni, and a lot of those people are now in really senior positions. I mean, we've got MDs of businesses that started off their experience on MDS. And, you know, the trainees that we've had even recently going through have finished the programme and gone on to have some really responsible positions within the industry. Currently, we are recruiting groups of 25 trainees. When MDS started, the groups are very small. It was potentially just sort of 5 or 6 trainees in a group. We're now got 25 in a group, and we have 4 groups going through the programme at any one time. So you can see we've got a large number and a great influx into the businesses as a whole. So this is all fantastic, and but what we've always had is like an ambition to expand. Currently, we've got a graduate scheme that works fantastically. We've got great potential. We've got people coming in with that, you know, want to have management careers and leadership opportunity, but we haven't been able to extend that out to wider groups. So when the government announced that they had this sort of Flexi Apprenticeship coming forward, we thought this is a fantastic opportunity for MDS, because the Flexi Apprenticeship basically is businesses that can't offer a whole apprenticeship to, in our case, we call them trainees, but they're apprentices. It all means the same thing. They would work in lots of different businesses, but do the training by one provider. So we thought, fantastic, this is already our model, and this might enable us to take other groups, so not necessarily graduates, people that have got potential, who want to work in the industry, but can't find a foot in. So we applied for funding along with everybody else, and we've been waiting anxiously to find out if we've been accepted. And our fantastic news today, and I can't wait to tell everybody, is that we have been accepted, and we are going to be able to offer those opportunities to a much wider group than we've been able to do historically. We're not changing the grad scheme. The grad scheme will always be there. We will always help graduates to get through the programme, and we will give the industry all the great expertise that we've managed to give them today. What we want to do now is see the other groups where we've been missing, the people with the high calibre, high potential, people that want to get into the industry but haven't got a degree because they haven't gone to university for whatever reason. They are now able to come onto the programme, and this is a massive step forward. And I can't tell you how excited we all are at MDS that we're able to do this. So what we're going to offer is opportunities to people who maybe didn't go down the university route, but could have if they wanted to. People that maybe have second careers because they've decided they want to go in a different route, but haven't necessarily got the experience. People who have, for whatever reason, returning to work, and also groups, for example, like the ex-forces. We're really passionate about helping people that want to get into a different industry but haven't had that opportunity to date. So this is, for MDS, a huge step forward, because I've always thought there are plenty of people who would be fantastic in the industry that we can't attract, and why can't we offer this to them? So the funding will enable us to recruit more resource into the office so that we can enable this programme. Currently, MDS is fully resourced. We're not we're a non-for-profit business, so we weren't able to just double our intake and take on lots of other groups. We weren't in a position to do that, but the funding that the government had given us, which is £450,000, will definitely enable us to start that off. That will give us 12 months resource to be able to do this project. We aim to take on 105 apprentices over the next year. That's an additional 105 on top of the apprentices that we already have. And we're going to ensure that the calibre, the ambition, the potential that these people have is the same. So we're going to give them all the opportunities, but it's just in a different route. We're going to do this by offering different options. So we've got our grad scheme for the leadership and management, and that will continue. We're also going to offer an option into for people like that are doing the new intake, got their transferable skills, got the potential, but we will do this in a more operational development role. And that will be great for people that want to do that on a permanent basis. They will finish the programme and then go into permanent careers, or else they can progress if they want to then get all of that experience and they're exposed to the industry and they see themselves and they've proved their caliber, they can then progress and go on to leadership if that's what they want to do. But there will be options for people. It'd be much broader than we're currently offering. And so we've been sitting on tender hooks waiting to tell everybody what we're going to be doing. And this is our opportunity now. So this is our first step. I'm really pleased for the graduates that are part of MDS today that can see how this is developing, and they're going to be a part of that. And for the alumni that will recognise that, isn't it fantastic that we can now offer this in a much wider context and really influx the industry with some really good people.
Okay, unmute myself. Thank you, Safi, for that. What a fantastic announcement. I know all of us at MDS have been waiting for the last couple of weeks to fully announce this and to see what the next stages of the programme are going to be. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of having apprentices within your business and how that can actually not only fill things like skills gaps and staffing needs, but also how it can change a little bit around your company culture and how that can be of a long-term benefit to your business. So apprenticeships they're not new. The apprenticeships have been going on for many years, but they are slightly different now. By taking on an apprentice within your business, you are effectively announcing to the world that you are focused on continual personal development within your business. You can put people on an apprenticeship if they are already employed within your business. So identifying skills gaps that your business may have, identifying people who have that potential to succeed and who are going to benefit from having an opportunity to progress their career and also give something back to your business. You can also take new people on into your businesses through apprenticeships. Up until very recently, there has been additional funding available for people who are taking on new apprenticeships, and the government are sort of continuously making different announcements around that. But that helps you to get people into your business who are looking to start their careers and like MDS offers, potentially looking to offer you a careers change. And then obviously the other way that you can get apprentices into your business if you don't have that full-time role for them is by utilising the Flexi Apprenticeship like MDS, where you will have somebody within your business for a short period of time, doing a placement, either a 6 or a 12-month placement, fulfilling roles for you that you need, gaining experience from you, and then they will potentially move on to gain experience in a different field. And then once they're all qualified, you've got this pool of talented individuals that you can recruit into permanent roles. The apprenticeships work by giving people sort of real practical hands-on experience, and then they go away for training. Now, training is provided by an apprenticeship training provider, like the Apprenticeship College or quantet that Tilly will explain in a little bit more detail. So there's no need to have that in-house training and development team in terms of specialised training. And the apprenticeships also make it hugely affordable for individual businesses. So the funding for apprenticeships can come in a variety of different ways. Every business that has a payroll of more than £3 million has to pay into the Apprenticeship Levy. So they have to pay in 1.5%. I'm just going to look to Safi for confirmation on that one.
0.5%.
0.5, I was going to say, that makes it a little better. They have to pay 0.5% of their payroll into an apprenticeship levy pot. They can then use that pot to either fund individuals within their businesses on apprenticeships. If they decide actually they don't need to utilise that fund, they can pass that on to another business that maybe has a smaller payroll and wouldn't be paying into the apprenticeship levy. And for example, Aldi have passed on a large contribution from their pot to MDS, and they have actually funded all of our graduates to date through their apprenticeship levy, which is fantastic for a non-profit organisation like MDS because it enables us to fully utilise our funds in other areas, whilst the trainees still get the full experience of the apprenticeship. And then the other thing that happens with your levy is if you don't pass it on to somebody else, it goes into the government pot. Now, the government pot is then utilised by non-levy payers who can pay a subsidised apprenticeship rate of 5%. So they only have to pay, if you're a non-levy payer, you only have to pay 5% to get your trainees onto a programme. Now, the levy funds and the apprenticeship fund is just for the training. It's not for the payroll of having an apprentice on there. But it's thinking of it as a long-term investment. Within MDS, we are always really conscious that our graduates, our apprentices, they are there because they are quality and high caliber individuals. It's wrong to think of apprentices as an alternative cheap labour force. They're there because they're going to be giving something back to your business. They're going to be bringing you a huge benefit in the long term. And the more people that invest in training and development within the industry, it will mean that there's a greater resource of skills, knowledge and experience within the industry, which long term is going to benefit all of us. So that's how MDS is looking to utilise apprenticeships in the future, and how we have, one of the reasons why we use apprenticeships as our funding, as our training method, and some of the ways that business kids can potentially be utilising it in the future. Lots of businesses maybe don't fully understand how an apprenticeship might work for them. So what we always try to do is to say, particularly to our members or people who are interested in joining MDS, we can give you that knowledge and understanding. We've got lots of experience with people going through apprenticeships, and we provide apprenticeships, but you can also utilise MDS to put your own staff on our apprenticeship programme. So that supply chain and leadership level 3 qualification and our operational management level 5 qualification, you can put your own staff on those programs as well as taking on trainees into secondments for temporary measures through the Flexi Apprenticeship. So Jake, and you're our seasoned apprentice here today. If you could just talk to people who may be considering joining an apprenticeship as an individual, a little bit about how you found your training so far, particularly as Jake is the winner of our David Bagshaw Award in January. This is an award that we give out to the most outstanding apprentice on our programme, and we were very happy to award it to Jake for his outstanding efforts. And we have very high hopes for him in the future.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I would definitely recommend an apprenticeship to anybody because, I mean, you alluded to it earlier that it's a much more hands-on and a much more practical approach. So, I mean, admittedly, my perceptions of an apprentice or an apprenticeship after finishing university and graduating with a nice certificate and a degree, I was thinking, you know, why would I want to go from a degree into an apprenticeship? But realistically, for apprenticeships, they can be much more specific to industry. So, I mean, some of the workshops that have been delivered have made really good use of actors within some of the workshops. And that's been one of the aspects that I've really enjoyed, because it actually gives you a realistic, you know, scenario that you can practice out in theory, where there's no pressure on you to fail. And although it might force you out of your comfort zone and, you know, you're trying to perform this in front of the rest of your MDS cohort, they really do challenge you and they really do make you think, you know, how you would approach the situation in real life. And I mean, I can't tell you how beneficial those workshops have been to me across all my 4 secondments. I think especially because sometimes from the perspective of an intern, whenever you're trying to go into a new business and trying to manage people that have been in that business much longer than you have, they don't necessarily want to give you the, you know, the freedom of authority over how to dictate their roles. But the management models and the different use of actors and the different delivery of the workshops has been really beneficial in trying to figure out how you can actually implement some of the theory into real life and real world scenarios to make your whole professional experience much more efficient. And I think that's something that employers definitely look at as well, and they think it's really beneficial. So I would definitely recommend it because it gives you really practical tools instead of the nice business theory, which I learned from my business degree.
And Jake, in terms of managing yourself as an apprentice, obviously you're working full time and having to undertake additional study. Would you say you were daunted by that to start with, or is it something that you feel comfortable, or you learned how to do it now?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's definitely an adjustment period, especially if you go from studying a degree full-time, where that's really your only occupation, to then working full-time and having a lot of theory on top of your, your normal workday at the start. It is a bit daunting, but I think it's really forced me and influenced me to develop better organizational skills. And coming to the end of my apprenticeship and looking for full-time positions, I mean, I've seen on basically every job description some of the desired traits or great organizational skills. I think having undertaken the apprenticeship, it's actually helped me to effectively manage my time. And a piece of advice I would give on that front for time management is that I think a lot of the members are actually really keen to have somebody that's in the learning mindset. So if you are just open and communicate with your manager or with your business and explain to them what the benefits of you undertaking the training will be, then actually they express a lot of interest, and they're more than willing to try and give you a bit of time and accommodate you to, maybe take an hour on a Friday to then complete some of your work, for example. So it's definitely a case where the employers see the benefit of the apprenticeship and are more than willing to help you accommodate your workload. So yeah, it's given me some good skills.
And what would you say, having undertaken a Flexi Apprenticeship where you're working at different businesses, what do you think is the best benefit for you personally from having that experience?
Well, I mean, the information that you gather from the workshops it's really specific to management and leadership. And I think those are traits that carry over no matter what position you're in. So, I mean, for my first secondment, I was placed in a technical like team leader role. So I had to work in a pack house with a lot of people that didn't necessarily have English. So I had to use some of the tools and models to use different methods of communication, which were really beneficial. Then from there, I worked in a marketing role. And from there, I was able to use different apprenticeship tools, such as Gantt charts for tracking projects for marketing campaigns. From there, I then went to Switzerland, where I was working in a large, kind of corporate environment. And that gave me actually a really strong backing, because depending on what environment you work in, a lot of the business theory will be much more prominent than what it may be in other environments. So I think you just need to think about which tools you've seen before and which tools you will see in the future, and then make use of how they will be specific to the situation that you're in. So
great. So definitely seeing the benefit of that variety of experience and training in combination with each other.
For sure. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jake. Tilly, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Tilly, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role within sort of apprenticeships in general and the Apprenticeship College?
Of course. So I look after the team at the Apprenticeship College that make sure all of our clients are happy. We help them look at where skills gaps are potentially with their business, and help understand what apprenticeships might work best, how they will work for them, and support whilst their learners and them are going through apprenticeship programs, basically to make sure that they are meaningful and they work in the way that an employer wants them to work for them. That's the most important part, really, I think. Oh, you're on mute, Kirsty.
So it's like technical hitch there. In terms of your experience with apprenticeships and how they've changed over the years, what would you say are the biggest differences now between a traditional concept of an apprenticeship and what they could potentially be in the future?
Yeah, I mean, they have changed quite dramatically, I would say, over the years. I've been in the apprenticeship industry now for 13 years. And since the introduction of the levy in 2017, we've seen a huge kind of increase in how apprenticeships can benefit a workforce. I think there are still misconceptions of what apprenticeships are, and the word can be slightly confusing, I think, to businesses who aren't used to them. There's still the understanding, I think, that apprenticeships are for more junior people who might be first starting their career, and perhaps more and more technical type roles. And whilst they are still very much suitable for those kinds of positions, we have seen a much bigger uptake in businesses who are looking to upskill and develop the staff they already have. We like to look at them as professional development programs. So whatever level you are within a business, and whether you're doing a level 5 operations and management program, a supply chain apprenticeship, or a customer service apprenticeship, you are they're all designed to make sure that you're developing those skills, you're improving your capabilities, and more importantly, have the confidence to do that job to the best level you possibly can. I think the other thing that has changed is with the introduction of the Apprenticeship Levy, the new Apprenticeship Standards, so the way that apprenticeships work, the content of those programs, and there are hundreds, by the way, but the content of those programs has been written by business for business. So they're actually fit for purpose. They actually make a difference to what somebody does in their day-to-day role. And listening to Jake, it's really fantastic to hear that, you know, he's found that useful, and he can take that knowledge through the workshops and understand how to embed that in his day-to-day activities. And for us as a provider, that is the most important part, that you understand how this information can then be used to deliver what you do in confidence, know that you have formal training behind you that supports the role that you do, and enable you to perform at the best of your ability in the job that you do. And I think the other thing for employers who may not be as familiar with apprenticeships and how they work, it's all about investing in your people, making sure that you nurture the talent that you have within your business, and they are, you know, you can use them to attract staff. So if you're recruiting people, the option of being able to go into an apprenticeship is hugely attractive to individuals who are looking to start working with an organisation. It definitely helps to retain staff, because if your staff feel invested in and they're being given the tools to do their job in the best way they can, then why would they not stay with you? And so it's a real key tool, I think, for businesses to help develop their people, which in turn gives them the confidence, but also benefits you as an organisation hugely.
Fantastic, thank you. And in terms of the Apprenticeship College and the relationship that it has with MDS, obviously we understand the apprenticeship scheme and the training that our trainees go through. What do you feel that the Apprenticeship College offers to MDS and trainees, and how that has a long-term benefit to the industry?
Of course. I mean, I think the first thing to say is MDS as a business, obviously, as you said, understand apprenticeships and have used them to work for you and your members. And I think that's one of the most important things for us as a training provider. We are there to support businesses, to help educate businesses as to how apprenticeships can work, particularly with MDS. Obviously, Safi touched on it before. You had training in place that supported people within your business. With the introduction of the Apprenticeship Levy, what MDS and the Apprenticeship College were able to do together was make sure that we weren't losing any of that valuable training or that content that you already had. And we were able to embed that in the program that you have and bespoke that program to make sure it suits you, suits the industry. And we're not losing anything. In fact, we're just enhancing and developing what you already have. I think the other thing also is, you know, people pay into this apprenticeship levy, and unfortunately, unlike MDS and their members, sometimes they don't use it. And I think it's really important to understand that you have the resource to do this. It's sitting there, you've already paid for it. What we want to do is work in partnership with MDS to make sure that people are making the most out of it. And as you said, they're not losing this valuable money that sits there, that indeed they could be investing to develop their staff. I think the relationship that the Apprenticeship College and MDS have is a true partnership. And I think that's really important. We want to understand how what we can do can benefit you and your members. And we take time to listen to what it is people want, the areas that perhaps training and development can enhance, and make sure that as we go through this process, we're continuously looking at what that is, developing the programs to make sure it suits, making sure that we're kind of changing as industry changes. And so that's why that partnership is really, really important.
Great, thank you. And hopefully now that you sort of listened to the various speakers today, everyone watching has got a good understanding of how MDS is utilising apprenticeships are development opportunities in the future by utilising the Flexi Apprenticeship, and also what it means when you are actually in that position of being the apprentice, and how that can potentially further develop your future and what opportunities that might give to you. Now, we've had a couple of questions come in, so I'm going to direct these to individuals. Safi, what made MDS start offering an apprenticeship rather than continuing with their old training program?
The only reason that we went down the apprenticeship route was because of the Apprenticeship Levy. And it didn't make sense to us that most of our members were paying into a levy and not being able to utilise it, because a lot of members already used us to provide training for their own staff because they recognised that our training was excellent and the outcomes for them were really beneficial. So when the Apprenticeship Levy was introduced, we decided that it didn't make sense for members to be paying extra when they already had this resource. And also it meant that we could keep our costs down to members because we no longer had to fund training. So it just made absolute sense to utilise it. And what I was really worried about was that I didn't want to dilute the quality of the training that we were providing, because we really believed in it, we developed it. And so when we did the bids to various apprenticeship providers, we were really keen that they would work with us to make sure that they matched what we had. So when I say that, they have the standards, and everybody delivers the standards, but every training provider delivers them differently. The Apprenticeship College agreed that in some elements of our training were greater than the standard, and we didn't want to lose those elements. And so they agreed that they would include those extra modules so that our trainees still got all of the training that we wanted on top of what the standard delivered. So it just made absolute sense for us to say, okay, we will hand over the training provision to an apprenticeship provider with the absolute confidence that our quality wasn't going to be diluted, and that the trainees and the members would both get exactly the same outcome, with the ability to go into business and really prove themselves. So, and it's worked. It's been fantastic. All of the our trainees have passed. We've had the majority of them have gained distinctions, and like Jake said, he really appreciates how you can apply that learning in practice. The thing that I think the apprenticeship does is that they're the experts. We developed our training program, and we really, we were very happy with it, and the outcomes were great. But the Apprenticeship College and training providers generally, I think, are able to really pinpoint and give much more feedback to trainees, much more one-to-one. They all get skills coach, which meant that resource we could take that out of our business. We still support all of our apprentices. Our business is solely to make sure that trainees at the end of the program gain their full potential and are able to go into the workplace and be really competent. So we still have our own internal support, but they gained extra support from doing an apprenticeship, and the benefits just far outweighed anything that we could offer ourselves.
Oh, exactly. Thank you, Safi. I think that the next question is to go towards Jake. And it sort of relates a little bit onto what you're doing. How would you say the Apprenticeship College, Jake, has supported you during your training within your secondments?
I think they're really receptive to questions and also to feedback. So, I mentioned earlier that probably one of the key challenges would be kind of the time management and trying to balance your work life along with your additional workload in terms of business theory assignments and things like that. But if you face difficulties based on a workshop that you've had, so for example, I mentioned the actors earlier, there's some really beneficial workshops that we undertook, which were based on managing difficult conversations. And then I had a challenging circumstance in one of my secondments, and then I was able to go back to the person that delivered the workshop and then discuss with them, how I might have approached it better in the next scenario. And that definitely helped me massively. And also in terms of workload, they're very receptive and very proactive in gaining feedback about how the apprenticeship is structured. So it means that they're always, after every workshop, we have a feedback form where we can deliver our thoughts and we can mention some of the situations that we would like to see addressed in the next time. And I know that for the following groups in MDS, some of the apprenticeship training is being, it's being adapted to suit some of the training situations more efficiently. So I think just the fact that the Apprenticeship College are so receptive and so proactive in gaining feedback and helping where possible is something really beneficial from a trainee's perspective.
Okay, thank you. Another question for you, Safi. With the new Flexi Apprenticeships, what do you think the biggest benefit is going to be towards our members and the industry as a whole?
I think the biggest opportunity here is to get people into the industry. There's definitely our members are telling us that there's a shortage of workforce. They can't get people in. And I think this opportunity that we're given, because we're not just talking to people and saying, come and work on a line or come and pick lettuce in a field. We're offering them an opportunity to build a career. And I think sometimes people don't see the food industry or horticulture in general as a career they want to go in because they think they're going to get stuck. And so the benefit from being a member and us using the Flexi Apprenticeship is that we're going to get people in, we're going to move them around, they're going to find where they fit. Their members are going to get resource for operational roles, for production roles, because people are going to come in and realise that actually this is a career opportunity and not just a dead-end job that they feel that they're going to be stuck in and not be able to progress or reach some sort of potential. Lots of people are going to come into roles and find that this is where I want to be for my permanent career. This is exactly what I've wanted to do. And I think being part of a Flexi Apprenticeship, with it being expanded to more than just a graduate scheme training leaders and for the future, looking for the next MDs, we're now looking for people that want to make a career in the industry from the roots up. And there can't be any doubt that this is going to benefit our members.
Okay. And actually, I think that the next question is potentially aimed at myself from the recruitment side. What are you looking for in terms of recruiting people onto the new development programs? Well, MDS has always been about identifying people's potential. So we are looking for people who are going to show great resilience, that they're going to show strength of character, problem-solving skills. And we're not looking necessarily for people who have had an operational experience or even production type experience for the operations development role, for example. It's all about, we will train you within that. We will give you those experiences. Lots of roles, particularly for younger individuals, the reason that they can't get into them is because they're asking for 2-3 years of experience. We're not asking for that. What we're asking for is, can you demonstrate to us that you have the potential to work within a large team? Do you have great communication skills or analytical skills? And that can come from a wide variety of opportunities. For our leadership and management roles, potentially due to the nature of the comments that you might be going into, they may be more suited for people who have taken a career path in retail, for example, and have gone up to that store managerial level, for example, but have actually decided this isn't what I want to be doing anymore, but I don't want to necessarily have to spend another 5 years working my way up from the early stages because I don't have the experiences working in the food industry. The same goes for our ex-forces leavers. They obviously come with a wide range of experiences working within sort of high pressure environments, in situations where they have to make decisions and take on responsibility. They're now looking for that secondary opportunity, and it's all about fast tracking. So no matter what program you go into, it's all about identifying your strengths and helping you develop them further, and helping you identify your weaknesses as well, because we all have faults, we all have areas that we need to work on. Some of them we're not able to overcome, but a lot of them we can learn to adapt around. And the whole premise of MDS always will be identifying people's potential, helping them achieve it, and getting them that fast track and long-term career into a sector that they choose to be in. I've just had a question come through on the chat from Graham Howe. Why did MDS choose to expand into logistics supply chain to support their members through Flexi Apprenticeships? Sapphira, I think I'm aim that one at you.
Yeah, so I think it's broadly what I was saying before. The members have told us that they've got a huge shortage of people coming into that particular area. They need people in this area. And we decided that to go down this route, to open up the apprenticeship standards to include opportunities in this area would benefit the members. So that's why we decided to go down that route. It leads, people can come in, they can get their experience there, they can do this supply chain support on the apprenticeship. But if they then decide that actually I want to progress, they can continue and do other apprenticeships within MDS. So there's nothing to stop somebody from doing an operations and development role and then deciding that they also want to go on to do the leadership role. The logistics and supply chain support for members means that we can give our members what they need in their workforce, and they can offer people a start in their career and an opportunity, but they can either then decide to do it on a permanent basis or they can progress and go elsewhere.
And in terms of qualifications, Tilly and Sephi, do candidates still need GCSEs or A-levels, even though a degree isn't necessary anymore?
So from a training provider's perspective, from the Apprenticeship College, the rules state that you have to have achieved level 2 in maths and English before you reach the end of an apprenticeship programme. So that's the GCSE equivalent, grades A to C. As a provider, we don't discount anyone from joining any apprenticeship based on their previous educational experience. The most important part is the role that they do is enhanced by the training that they're undertaking. And we believe that everyone should have the opportunity to develop in their role. What we do is support people who may not have previously achieved that to achieve it. We have professional tutors who will support any learner to reach that before they get to the end of the programme. So from our perspective, the short answer is no, you don't need to, but we will support you to achieve it whilst you're on your programme.
Fantastic. Saphi, anything that you would like to add in terms of qualifications and experiences?
The answers are similar from MDS's perspective. We are looking at potential and somebody's ability. So sometimes you're not always able to reach your academic potential through the education system, and there's a variety of reasons for that, but that doesn't mean that you haven't got the ability or the potential to do so. So when you apply to MDS, we're going to look at your application and identify, has this person got potential? We're looking at resilience, we'll be looking at confidence, ability to resolve problems, make decisions, etc. And we'll do that through an assessment process. And if we think, actually, this person has got everything, what they haven't got is the academic qualifications to prove it, we will enable them to gain that experience. And like Tilly said, they will then gain also the basic qualifications in English and maths. That will be useful to them. What we will assess is where can they currently perform well in a business, because the members want somebody to come in and do a good job. And if you haven't got the basics, you need to learn from that level. If you can demonstrate to us that actually you've had lots of other work experience, or you've achieved in lots of different areas, it might be that you could actually take a really responsible position in a member company and deliver. The members want you to deliver a good job. They're not really interested in what your academic qualifications are, because why is that relevant at that point? What we want, we will not dilute our quality. The outcome of MDS is going to be exactly the same. We're going to deliver high quality people into the businesses that are going to do a good job. And if you're able to do that and you're confident you can do that, sell yourself in the assessment centre so that we believe that, and then we will give you the opportunity to prove it.
Fantastic. We've had a question from Pete Thornton, the business development partner with Bidford UK. He says, so as a business in the logistics area, how would the new flexible model work for people I have, or or would be looking to recruit. So I think he's asking, how would the Flexi Apprenticeships be able to be utilised within a business like his?
Well, I'm reading this, that this is for his own staff. So if he recruited people himself and he wanted to put them through the programme, and that's absolutely the same as it is for all members. So you could well, for Bidford Food, first of all, if you want to come through the MDS process, you'd need to apply to become a member. Once you're a member, you can put your own staff through the training programme. If you're not a member and you want to put your own staff through a training programme, you go directly to the Apprenticeship College and they will do that for you. The difference, I think, with being a member is that, as I explained before, we agreed with the Apprenticeship College that the programme would meet our standard, and our standard has the additional modules. So we're not doing the minimum and giving you what the standards say. We're also giving you additional training for your staff. If you're not a member, you would get the standard, and the Apprenticeship College would be very happy to talk to you about that, or any other training provider, I'm sure. But if you want to come through MDS, you apply to become a member, and then you could put your own staff through our training programme. And
if I'm right in thinking, Safi, for the Flexi Apprenticeships, the new Flexi model of apprenticeships, if you were a business and you wanted to put staff on a Flexi apprenticeship, you'd have to have other businesses, or your staff would have to be recruited by one business to work at multiple ones through the Flexi apprenticeship. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah. So I think to do that, you would go to a you could go through an apprenticeship training agency. So MDS is, we're doing it through a membership, so you'd have to become a member of MDS. There's been 15 Flexi apprenticeship training agencies as a result of this new funding. So if you didn't want to become an MDS member, you could go to one of those, and they would allow you to take an apprentice for 6 months just to fill the gap that you had, and they would be employed by that Flexi apprenticeship agency. It's all new words that we're having to learn to say, because this is day one. But certainly if you wanted to come through the MDS programme, so if you wanted to have one of the trainees that we're employing, then you would apply to become a member of MDS. Yeah.
And MDS is specialising within the food and supply chain industry, aren't we?
Exactly.
So all of our trainees on our programme are specifically doing apprenticeships within this industry, whereas that might not necessarily be the case with other Flexi apprenticeships.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I would certainly recommend that you contact us after this and find out if MDS would work for you. But certainly for the food industry, I think it's going to be one of the top programmes.
I think the beauty, I mean, apprenticeships were always designed for individuals to get various different exposure and experiences to different areas of business. And I think that obviously this works perfectly in that instance. And as Jake mentioned before, the skills are so transferable. So whether you're working in, the supply chain department one day and then you move into something different, these are the skills that you take with you, and obviously then build up that knowledge and experience, and therefore the confidence that you need to do bigger and better things.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. It's cleared it up a little bit there. Actually, the next question is for Jake. Did you have any experience of the food industry before starting MDS? And do you have any advice for somebody who might not have considered a career within this industry before?
My only experience would have been growing up around hospitality, but that isn't specifically related to food and fresh produce, as is the scheme for MDS. So I think, even I had a bit of a misconception at the start that food and fresh produce basically consisted of farmers and pack houses, and that absolutely isn't the case. So I can attest to that fully. And MDS also gives you a really good overview of the whole supply chain. So in my first secondment, I was working on a farm partly, and then also in a pack house, and that was really, the bottom of the supply chain in a sense. But then I went on to a marketing role for a scientific research institute, which also focuses on fresh produce. And from there, I then went to work in Switzerland at the headquarters of a multinational, which is an amazing experience for any trainee, and it gives you that international exposure as well. And I think this kind of relates to what Safi said, where a lot of people have that perception of the food and fresh produce industry. It isn't really glamorous and it doesn't necessarily have that much opportunity, but that most certainly isn't the case. So after my year working in strategy and communication at As I mentioned, you know, a multinational environment. I'll now be staying there as well as a global account manager based off MDS. So, I mean, that's a quick transition in 2 years, but it goes to show that there's definitely an enormous amount of opportunity available through the scheme and through the Apprenticeship College as well. So my words of recommendation would be to definitely consider it and definitely go for it based on my own experience. So
fantastic, thank you. What are MDS's aimed in regards to the Flexi Apprenticeship beyond our initial 2 schemes? I'm guessing for this question. What are you trying to achieve for the people you recruit and your members?
We're trying to recruit a wider stream of people into the industry. So the grad scheme, as we discussed earlier, is just about leadership, management, and the people that want to go into those careers. But there's so many other careers within the industry that we haven't been able to address, and we've only ever been able to work with graduates. And of course, there are a huge pool of people that we've been missing so much potential. The industry is struggling to get the people into their businesses, and MDS sees that they can do that for them. So our aim really is to get a much broader stream of people. We're starting off, this is new today, so we're starting off with supply chain. But what we want to do in the future is, progress. We want to go into engineering. We're looking at logistics and all the other sectors within the industry, so that we can get a good stream of people coming through, getting that experience that we previously provided to just our graduates, who, like Jake has been saying, that he's just got a fantastic permanent job in an area that he would never have considered. We want to extend that to the wider pool, so that we can actually provide our members with a much broader stream of people that are going to deliver and do a good job, and hopefully stay in the industry and make that their long-term career.
Thank you. And I would definitely say, from my experience of being a trainee as well, that there are opportunities that you would not have considered, experienced, or even been aware of. And I think that is one of the greatest benefits of doing a flexi-based apprenticeship, is it's putting you into different situations, it's exposing you to different things, but then also you're not tied down to it. So you might see an area and say, well, do you know what? I'm doing a good job in this particular role. I'm learning a lot, but I don't really want to be doing this for the next 5-6 years. And that's okay, because you've gained the knowledge from it. And then rather than having to wait for the next employment opportunity to come around, you know that you're going to be moving on in a few months' time, 6 or 12 months' time, and experiencing something new and gaining that additional knowledge base and skill set to enable you to go on to that permanent career choice of your desire, really.
Can I just add to that, Kirsty, that quite often when trainees come onto MDS, they will all do 4 secondments. What they won't know is where they fit. So they will do a secondment, which no doubt they won't enjoy as much as they do others. What they usually do is gain so much experience from that role, that when they go to the role that they find, this is where I want to be, and this is the area in the industry that I want to work in, the experience they've had from those other roles that they may not have chosen to take into their permanent option is going to make them so much better. So it's not just about, the opportunity when you move from business to business and you're doing smaller roles, is you find out about different companies, you find out the company culture, you find the areas that you fit in, and that might not be an area that you'd ever considered. So, we take trainees with all degree backgrounds. We're now going to be taking trainees that haven't got any background in the industry, and they're going to find out from experience, I want to work in operations, this is absolutely where I fit. I want to work in logistics, this is fantastic. Or I want to go on to be a leader and a manager. They're going to find that out for themselves from experience. Usually what happens is you have to take a job, you identify, oh gosh, this isn't really what I want to do. But if you change your job every 6 months, your CV is going to look horrendous. This is giving you the opportunity to sort of try all these different things, find out where you fit, make that your career, and you're much more likely to stay in that role. Members and businesses are generally going to get somebody that sticks after completing a flexi apprenticeship than they are if they just employ somebody and allow them to find out whether this is the route for them.
Exactly. I think that's definitely seen in our current programme, Safi, with, like you're saying, 100% of the trainees who have completed our programme over the last 36 years, which is a long amount of time, same age as myself. The fact that 100% of our trainees go on to be offered full-time employment is outstanding to start with. But then 85% of them are ending up going to member businesses. So the businesses that are investing into the Flexi Apprenticeship, they are definitely going to be able to see the beneficial outcome. And actually over the last 3 years, the majority, I think it's like 99% of our trainees in total have actually stayed within the food and fresh produce supply chain in one way or another. So that if you think about the numbers that we alone produce coming into the programme currently, that's a huge amount of fresh talent going into an industry which is difficult for people to understand their place within it.
I just seen this question from Ross about how we select. Can I just say about that? So one of the things as well as that is unique about MDS is that you may potentially, we might have going forward 200 trainees and you may only have one secondment. What MDS does is we do a profile of every single trainee and every member gets to see that profile. And in each of those profiles is a short video. So you might identify, you're not going to watch 200 videos, but you might identify a few people where you can say, I want to know a little bit more about them, and you can click on their 1-minute video that tells you about them. Then you will have a profile of how they've performed in each of their secondments. So that's how we promote all of the apprentices, trainees to all of the members, because you won't have had hands-on experience of all of them. And then when you want to offer us a secondment, you send us in your secondment request and you give us it's a bit like a job description. And it's quite a process, which, obviously if you remember and you want to go down that route, you get much more information about it. But you send us in your secondment requests in usually January and June. And then we place trainees to start working in your businesses in April and October. So our team who know the trainees well, so we have people development managers that look after all of the trainees. We do secondment reviews with every trainee with their secondment manager. Their secondment manager is the person that's sort of mentoring them in the business, whoever they're responsible to. And we make sure that they're performing. When your secondment request comes in, we will identify the best person for that role. So we identify them by deciding who's going to deliver for the member. The members can be guaranteed that they're going to have a job well done. But we also say to members, can you make sure that you understand that this is a development program? So they're not coming as the polished article, they're coming with loads of potential. And so it's up to the members to make sure that they give them the opportunity to progress, to develop themselves. And they can then come back to MDS at any point as well and say, I need some support with this. This person potentially wants much more responsibility and challenge. Can you give me some ideas of how we can do that? Absolutely, we can. Or this person needs a little bit more training in a certain area. Absolutely, we can do that. So if they need to have additional presentation skills or time management or whatever, we can make sure that that happens. So in short, we select the person for you. You get to meet them. And if you said to us, that person might be great potential wise, but the fit just isn't right for our business, we listen to that and we find you somebody else. But you can be absolutely assured that the selection process in MDS really works. And I think our members would be testament to that.
May I just add to that from a training provider perspective? We appreciate that when anyone starts in a position, they are all going to be at a slightly different level. And everyone has a slightly different starting point. But what the Apprenticeship College will do through our skills coaches and skills scan and work we do very early on with individuals is understand what that starting point is, where they may have more experience or more confidence in areas that perhaps they don't. And part of our role and their skills coach's role, who's the person who will support them throughout the programme, is to help challenge further on areas that perhaps they do have a little bit more experience or knowledge in, and support on areas that they don't. And so as we go through the learning journey, the development is aligned to that individual and their individual learning journey, rather than everyone starting at the same point, because everyone's different. It's all about nurturing that person and making sure we get the best out of them, and what they've already done and what they perhaps haven't.
Thank you, Tilly. And I think we've got time for one further question before we finish up. Do trainees get a say in the secondments that they go to? I think I've got something to impart on this one. So in terms of the trainees, we would select your secondments for you, as Safi described earlier, based on what role we think you're going to thrive in, but also what areas that we feel that you need to develop within. And to get the best opportunities out of MDS and the best experience, it's about making sure that you're really open to the variety of different opportunities. Now, our members are spread throughout the UK. There are also a number of opportunities overseas. And what we would recommend is that if you're considering applying for MDS as a trainee for any of our programs, consider what your long-term goals are. So in the immediate term, yes, you may be in a role that maybe you hadn't identified for yourself, or maybe a little bit unsure of, or you may be asked to go to a location that you hadn't necessarily considered before. But what you're trying to do at the end of either your 18-month program or your 2-year program is to be in that accelerated position so that then you can make the best choices for yourself. By opening yourself up to what MDS has to offer you and the situations that we're going to put you in, that means that when you want to make your decision for a permanent full-time role, once you're qualified with us, you are going to be able to have so much more opportunity available to you that you can be extra picky around things. As it currently stands, most of our trainees from our current graduate program, when they leave MDS, they're getting 2, maybe 3 job offers at a time, and there's very rare situations where you're ever going to be the person who can say, well, actually that one's not for me, I'm going to turn you down, because people are competing over you because they know MDS trainees are a certain caliber. And Steph, anything you'd like to add to that one?
No, I absolutely agree with everything you said. I think, the process for MDS is that we choose the secondments for trainees when they're on the program. And I think the reasoning behind that is because people don't know what they haven't experienced. So, I meet so many people and they say to me, I want to be a commercial manager. And I assess them in the assessment centres and I think, you are perfect for MDS, but I doubt very much that you're going to be a commercial manager at the end of it. And that's because they haven't experienced anything else. And it's the same when we get trainees that have come with, scientific backgrounds and things like that, because that's all they've done so far. They don't know what else they're going to really excel in. So MDS chooses the secondments. We do this based on the secondment request, making sure that the members get the right person. And we do this also based on the development that we can give to the trainee. And we want to expose you to the whole supply chain. So depending on the role, the route that you're coming into, so if you're coming into the grad scheme, you're going to do all of the whole supply chain. If you're coming into the sort of operations development and logistics, we're going to make sure that your experiences very much enable you to be successful in that area. But you've got to be prepared to accept that we really know what we're doing. And the reason that we've got this 500 alumni that are now in very successful careers, who have all been offered employment at the end of the program, and like Kirsty says, sometimes offered numerous opportunities, and they're in the fortunate position where they can say, which one do I want? I can say that's never happened to me in my life. Usually you're competing against 4 or 5 other people for one job, at least 4 or 5 people. So, I think you've got to have faith in the process. If you really want a career, then trust us to make sure that you get the right experiences, and then we will put you into those give you those opportunities. And like I said earlier, you may not enjoy all of them. You've got to be up for saying, this is the start of my career and I'm prepared to do what it takes to find out where I'm going to be successful.
Thank you very much. So I just want to say thank you to Tilly, Jake and Safi for joining us today. Hopefully everyone watching has found this sort of update on MDS in the future and what it's going to hold for us and our trainees and our members informative. If you've been watching this today and you would like to consider joining MDS as one of our member businesses, further information can be found on our website on how to do that, and I would be happy to talk about that in more detail with anybody. You can contact us through our website. Izzy has also placed a link in the comments to our Flexi Apprenticeship announcement, so you can get more details around that. And if you've been watching today and you think, well, actually, a Flexi Apprenticeship is exactly where I need to do to progress my career, applications are now open for both our operations and development program and our leadership and management and our grad scheme. It's too many now for me to recite them all off, which is quite fun. Applications are now open. Our next intake is in April, with the following intake in October. Again, if you'd like any further information or would like to discuss anything in terms of the apprenticeship and what that might mean for you, please contact us. We will also be putting out some further announcements of live webinars in the future.